Live, we are live on TikTok. It's Wednesday night, and producer Jay is joining us. We're trying to do a duel. Um, right? He's remote, helping us out, and you can hear him on the speakers, I think, behind me. And we're also trying to get on YouTube and do simultaneous stuff here. And I'm such a piece of shit with tech stuff that I can't figure out how to turn down the brightness on my screen. So it looks like I'm looking decent on TikTok, but my glasses are reflecting my screen in a very bizarre way on YouTube. So
no, you look good on TikTok. Yeah, I can see it.
on TikTok it looks good, right? But on YouTube, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
when you turn the YouTube on the StreamYard that we're trying to figure out,
Yeah.
washed out. So sorry about that if you're on YouTube, but if you're not, follow us on YouTube. If you're a TikTok fan, and we love you for doing that, find us on YouTube, even if you don't use YouTube or watch us on YouTube, and follow us. We need more followers so that we can go live from our camera, from our phones. We can only go live from the desktop until you get like 1,000 followers, which seems arbitrary, but I guess all of these websites kind of have that. Wednesday night, we're going to go live every Wednesday night, along with our Sunday morning Atheist brunch that we do, so that we have a regular schedule. We love going live and talking to all you people and taking your questions, and thank you, all of you, so much for following, and we appreciate it more than you could even know. Very gratifying to see all the great compliments and thanks that we get for just trying to do what we do and create a space for atheists and normalize atheism in this evangelical shithole that we call a country. And I got taken to task by a couple of trolls this week. One guy's like, why are everybody so afraid of evangelicals? What? They only make up about a third of the population of the United States, and it's not even probably that much, but the scary thing is that they're motivated, and they're powerful. They have powerful friends, they're motivated, and they're dangerous. They all vote as a block, every last one of them. As soon as they get old enough to vote, they vote, they get involved in politics, and they try to push their agenda through, and it works. And they're not alone. It's not just the evangelicals. It's a good amount of other Christians, other fundamentalists, including Catholics, who are over the top sometimes with ignoring Catholic doctrine and going ahead and denying science, denying climate change, denying evolution, which is against church doctrine. The Catholic Church, for all their faults, at least tried to accept modern science when they changed in the 60s to, I want to say it was in the 60s, to accept evolution as the fact that we know it is, and to try to spin Genesis as metaphor for people. If you buy a King James Bible and it has a decent forward in it, it will say that Genesis is best read as metaphor, because we know that the creative process took more than 6 fucking days. All right, everybody knows that. So to be one of these people that denies science is just. Thanks, TJ Mayfield. We appreciate that. Says the glasses aren't that bad. We'll figure it out as we get going. Maybe I'll put my monitor in a different position. But it's all new to us. So anyway, I was saying we got taken to task by some trolls. For being afraid by some trolls. For being afraid of evangelicals, like they're not a threat to our freedoms, which they clearly are, and they've proven it time and time again. The fact that Trump was able to appoint Amy Homely Barrett, whatever the fuck her name, I can never get her name right. And yes, I'm trying to be snarky. She's a fundamentalist Christian piece of shit who has helped already push through decisions that favor Christian exceptionalism in America. And if you don't think that they're a threat, then you're not paying attention. And if you're one of these atheists who wants to wait until they actually pass a law that is straight out of religious doctrine, what kind of sense does that make? It'll be too late by the time that happens. Why not take proactive efforts to cut off what should be easily cut off? If the rest of us vote, the nones, the fringe religious, the mellow religious, and people who aren't hardcore about it, who believe in God but don't want to see religion involved in government, every pagan, every Wiccan, every other downtrodden minority, if we all get together, we make up way more votes than the evangelical third, this one guy said. And I don't even think they're that much. If you just take evangelicals, they're I think they're probably less than a third. They're 25 to 28% maybe now, but don't quote me on that. I haven't looked at the breakdown in a while, but we can do it, and we don't need to live in a country that has laws passed by a religious minority that none of the rest of us give a shit about. So that was pretty distressing. I also got taken to task for calling people stupid and people who can't even spell. But that's who I am. I'm a clown. I'm a comedian. If I see, I call them how I see them. And if someone is too stupid to spell a word right, and I'm not talking about easy typos. It's easy. I make typos too because you're typing fast or you're doing voice to text. But if you're going to come at me and call us gullible, call atheists gullible because we believe in the Big Bang and we trust scientists, and it's more. One guy said it takes more faith to believe what scientists tell us about the Big Bang than it does to believe in God, which is literally the stupidest fucking thing anybody could say. All right? Yeah, we don't have all the answers, but we have tons of evidence, piles and piles of evidence to back up scientific theory. All right? That's not in question. Religious faith requires faith and belief in something for which there's no evidence. So how can anyone come at you and say that it takes more faith to believe in science? It's this demonization of scientists lately that I can't understand and I don't get. One guy said that science has become as politicized, he believed, as journalism or something that really has become politicized. That's ignorant. Scientists, they're not in it for the money. We know that. They're in it because they want to find out the answers to things. And I firmly believe and have faith that most of the scientists, by a long, long stretch, are only in it for that. And if they come up with evidence that contradicts their previous conclusions, they change. It's as simple as that. So to argue with scientists over science is like arguing with your doctor over medicine. You don't do that. If he tells you need to take this piece of you out or you're going to die, how many of these assholes argue with him about that? It's fucking stupid, man. Stop arguing with people who are in a field that is not your field of expertise. Jump in any time, Jay. If there's questions, I'm not close enough to my damn phone.
Yeah. No, I can post these up on the screen so you can see them a little bit. So someone wanted to say that they're excited that they finally got to join one of our live.
Nice. Yeah, Pierre Williams is coming up. I like this. I can see on StreamYard that they're coming up. Some comments, so it looks like it's working. Thank you, my friend. The Chauvin trial. I'm so happy. Give me a break. I mean.
The people on TikTok can't see those, so you got to read those.
Oh, astonishing Toto says thoughts on the Chauvin trial. The guy's name's great, isn't it? Is he a chauvinist because his name is Chauvin? What a piece of shit. You see the look on his face? Like, whoa, I got convicted. I'm going to have to go to jail? Probably for the rest of your life, dude, and probably going to get shanked as soon as you're alone in the shower. They're going to have to put him in solitary, but I don't think he's going to even last long in prison. It's an embarrassment to the country the way that the cops are in America, and I don't have a real problem with cops. I'm white, and so I've enjoyed white privilege that way. But all you have to do is have eyes to know that the police are undertrained in America. They are trigger happy, and a lot of them are racist. Not all of them, and I don't want to paint with that broad of a brush. A lot of kids want to be cops because they're altruistic, and power corrupts, and we know that power corrupts, and ultimate power corrupts ultimately or completely, whatever the saying is. It does, and that's a fact, and I've seen it. I work with all Mexicans, and Mexicans get profiled all the time by police, and I've had to step. It does, and that's a fact, and I've seen it. I work with all Mexican with my white privilege and say, hey, Mr. Officer, you don't need to yell at that guy for that just because you don't understand. You need me to translate? Yo te lo traduzco, okay, man? No hay problema con eso. Yo hablo español, yo te ayudo. But you don't have to just bitch at him because he's brown and he doesn't understand you and you don't understand him. It happens all the time. And where I live, the police will shoot you just for anything. You don't even have to be black here to get shot. There's other people. You don't even have to be black here to get shot. There's other people who've been shot in our town who weren't black and they got shot unreasonably, and people are putting websites up to try to get justice for their dead relatives. So someone from our friend non-crazy cat lady from Denmark pointed out that American cops get their psychology test last, which happens after the police have already, the establishment has already invested all this time in training them. so that they don't want to fail people out. They've got all this time and money invested in them. They give them the psychology test last, and they end up shoving people through who maybe shouldn't be, when that test should be first, all right? So yeah, Chauvin was a piece of shit. He killed a guy we all shouldn't be, when that test should be first, all right? So yeah, Chauvin was a piece of shit. He killed a guy. We all saw it. The whole world saw it. And if there was any gray ground there, I would call it out. But, this dude needed to be convicted, and he was, and I'm really, really happy. I'm happy for the family. I'm happy for Black America. I'm happy for America. I can't spin it any other way. And I don't want to hear about how I'm a liberal, because I think that. I'm not really a liberal. What do we got? Cowboy Wayne.
Cowboy Wayne.
Senate President, thank you. Is that on YouTube, the present? Or is that coming from...
No, that's from TikTok. Actually, for those of you on TikTok, can you hear my voice?
Yeah, I think I could turn that up a little if they can't.
Okay, someone let me know. Here, we got a question, though. Do you hear? It says, do you think with religion participation down...
Yeah, it won't die out completely, and it's not going to be not going to be in my lifetime. It's not going to be probably in any of our lifetimes. There'll always be somebody who needs that comfort myth. But I think that we will eventually get to the point where it doesn't affect politics like it does today. And, sooner or later, it's a curve. Europe got after because it wasn't necessarily so tied to Puritanism. Like, America was really founded in a lot of ways by immigrants who came here to be religious fundamentalists, and they weren't finding that in England and in Holland. They wanted their own country to do that in, and so even though the founders weren't really like that, the settlers, they were either here for business to exploit the resources, or they were here to found a religious colony. So it's a curve, and America's going to take longer to get over it, but eventually we will. I do have faith in that.
Okay, so
non-organized religion, I'm not sure what that means. What are my opinions on non-organized religion? Does that mean like the way the people are gathering in their homes now? That's just a smaller organization. But people have their own faith in their minds. The spiritual people, I don't have an issue with that. Everybody's got to do what they have to do to get through the night. As long as you're not forcing it on government, or surreptitiously sticking it in my kid's classroom at school, or indoctrinating little kids, even in your own family. If you're indoctrinating your children, you're an asshole. There was another chick who watched our child abuse video, which has boku views. It just blew up. It was one of our first ones we did, and it's still getting views and comments. And, this chick said, no, I'm going to raise my kid Christian, and when he's 18, he can choose his own path. Well, the problem is, when you indoctrinate a kid before he's 5, he might not be able to change his mind when he gets 18, or she. It breaks minds forever. Not everybody's mind, and not every religion is as forceful as other ones, but a lot of these people are incapable afterwards of choosing their own path. That's the point. Expose them to all philosophies, expose them to all religions, tell them what you believe, tell them it works for you, but don't indoctrinate little kids into religion. You are harming, potentially forever, their ability to make up their own minds later in life. You are taking away their critical thinking skills. And if that's not child abuse, I don't know what the fuck is.
So we got a question that I'm not familiar with. It's
keep it to yourself. I believe in true religious freedom. Yeah, sure you do. How about freedom from religion? Move along. Keep it to yourself. Or maybe she meant keep your religion to yourself. I'm not trying to gun if I took you wrong, Yeah. But I don't think we get a lot. We don't get a lot of trolls on the live. I don't feel like. Maybe once in a while.
Yeah, not usually. No.
Not usually, huh? It's it's mostly fans. We love you. We love you all.
So we got a question about something called Bayesian arguments. I'm not super familiar with it. I'll also write it. I posted it on the YouTube live.
Yeah, can I Google that, Bayesian? I should know what that is, and I apologize for not. Interpretation of the concept of probability, in which instead of frequency or propensity of some phenomenon, probability is interpreted as reasonable expectation, representing a state of knowledge, or as quantification of a personal belief. That's wild. It's too much for me to digest right now, I think. Yeah.
It seems like you would need a whole afternoon to...
yeah. Sorry. I wish I knew everything. I really don't. I know I act like I do sometimes. Well, but I don't. frequency.
So here it says, "You guys helped me realize Mormonism is crap. I want to thank you."
You're welcome. I'm glad. I'm glad we did that. It's. I don't know. I think they're doing that to themselves a little bit. With the exposed as a business the way they have been lately, and all the money that they're able to hide. But thank you. That's why we do what we do. We're out there to make it okay for people to question. And if you were indoctrinated into any faith, and you have some common sense inside you that says maybe it's wrong, it's probably wrong, and you shouldn't be ashamed of that.
And I think Mormonism is an interesting one where there's so much information because, John Smith wasn't that long ago of how, he was in trouble for fraud. And somehow people are like, oh, no, he's totally legit to believe him when he showed up with, magical golden plates that nobody really saw.
Nobody ever saw, and he had to bury him again, and he convinced like a few people.
Yeah.
Thoughts on circumcision someday? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's sort of scary to show how easily people can be accepting of these ideas just because they're told over and over again as opposed to like thinking logically about it.
Yeah, and again, that's if everybody in your life is in a position of authority and you respect that authority, you're going to believe. Most people are going to believe what they're told, and that's how indoctrination works, and that's frankly how religion survives. If you couldn't indoctrinate your kids, religion would die much more quickly. That they really count on that, along with missionary work, which is the new colonialism, going to a poor country and, telling them that you'll build a bridge for them for nothing, but come to our church on Sunday and we'll tell you why your native religion is stupid and ours is right. Give me a break. Somebody asked about circumcision, and I want to plug our documentary. Circumcision is a human rights violation. It's not your penis. Don't cut it. If the kid gets to be 16 and wants to cut his penis off, then that could be his choice, and maybe he does, and maybe there's a reason that he wants to, but to cut a baby for a healthy baby, to cut healthy tissue off a healthy baby is a medical ethical violation. It's a human rights violation, and it needs to stop. And I had to learn this. We did a documentary available on atheistunderground.com right after episode 6 and before episode podcast. You can find Missing Pieces, our documentary that I researched and did on circumcision. And I learned so much because I circumcised my kid because my ex-wife kind of insisted on it, and I didn't know enough at that time to be against it, and I'm sorry that I did, because it's disgusting. It's not right at all.
We did get a question from Cowboy Wayne. What do you say to folks that claim they are spiritual and not religious? Is that a cop-out?
Yeah, circumcision leading against HIV, no. There's better ways to...
Say to folks that claim they are spiritual and not religious, is that a cop-out? Get a question from Cowboy Wayne. What do you...
Yeah, circumcision leading against HIV, no. There's better ways to... I don't really have an issue with people who say they're spiritual, but I guess I don't know, we're having a problem with the... It looks like we lost part of our stream, dude. I don't know, but on YouTube maybe, or did I lose you, Jay? It looks like I lost Jay for a minute, so I'll be flying solo until he can pop back on. Do I think the Catholic Church will unbaptize you? Who the hell knows what they'll do, man? They'll do anything. They molested. Looks like he's back. Maybe they molested boys on a scale that nobody can even get their head around. So if you can get them to unbaptize you, then you're doing better than most people. The Catholic Church is some fucked up shit, man. The stream glitches out a little. I'm not sure why. The damn Wi-Fi is literally right down here. People fasting for their God. People fasting for health, I get. People fasting for their God? What kind of God wants you to starve? What the hell is that about, man? Again, these are just, traditions. That there's no, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think any religious texts at any point. I think it's just people's. And in fasting, I will say, if you fast for a long time, it can lead you to a spiritual experience, if you will. Much like sleeplessness. Or taking a psychedelic, it can actually alter your perception a little bit, and I think it's a way to do that. To invoke feelings that you might not have if you didn't fast. But to me, all that stuff is just made up rituals. To reinforce a liturgy of worship in some kind of way. So yeah, fasting for religion, dumb. Fasting for health for a while, fasting for to see what maybe it can do to your brain. Maybe you have an experience there. Can't be against that, I guess.
So, sort of going back, I do know there is study with what beard skeptics talking about, and I have to look further into the research. To me, the little bit of research I saw looked somewhat questionable because of how they did it. But I mean, the issue also becomes like you use a condom to prevent HIV. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah,
way more
or
than cutting a baby's
that's what I mean.
skin
And
off.
they've tried that in Africa, and I mean there is some evidence to suggest that men who have a lot of partners are less likely to get HIV if they're circumcised. But and again, this is happening to adults who can decide for themselves. If you're doing it to a baby, how's the baby going to get HIV? He's not out having sex with multiple partners. So, if you present your case to an adult who then decides that it's worth it for him to get circumcised to prevent HIV, then more power to him. Let him snip his dick. That's his business. But to do it to a baby who can't decide, causing the kind of pain that causes to a baby, there's a reason they do it to babies, so they don't remember the pain. They don't give them anesthesia. They just do it. And it's brutal.
We did get another question from Cowboy Wayne. Oh no, that's one we just did about the spirituality. So we had here's another one. Why did you become atheist? I'm just curious.
Well, it becomes too logical after a while. If you study and you look around and you just think about it on your own, there's no evidence whatsoever for God, and people who pretend there is are just fooling themselves because they want to believe in a God. You can pretend that everything around us and creation and all that is evidence, but it's not. And every religion can't be right. So the chances that one of them are right and all the rest are wrong when there's no evidence to support any of them is infinitesimal. That's just unreasonable to even think that. And so the only logical answer is that they're all wrong. That's why I became an atheist. Besides the obvious abuse that I saw when I got old enough to see how fundamentalist churches abuse people. My church was cool, and I had a good church experience growing up. I don't want to pretend I didn't. I had fun as a Christian youth. It was community. I liked going to church. I never ever had a shitty experience really in church. It's not about any of that, but I just got too old to believe what is unbelievable, period. And my cog disc boiled to the surface, and I was like, this is crap. Wow, who would believe this idiocy?
So Perry Williams asked, "Do we have set live times?"
Yeah, we're getting into a rhythm, aren't we? We go live on Sunday. We're in the Central time zone, so it's 10:30 here, 11:30 on Sunday mornings, and now we're going to try to do 8 o'clock on Wednesday. This is only our second Wednesday during the week, but they've been successful. We like going live, and so I think a regular schedule is helpful for everybody to know when to expect to find us live on TikTok and now YouTube, hopefully.
Astonishing Toto says, "What do you think of purity culture? No sex."
No sex. I think that's dumb, but there's reasons for all kinds of things. If you've got a logical reason to get pure, then stay away from sex for a while. That's a personal decision. But I'm not sure. I've heard a lot about purity culture. Is that a thing that's like sweeping the nation, or is that like just like Christians? It's abstinence and purity and. To me, people who preach that shit are people who are dirty. They're dirty in their minds and they want sex all the time and they're just guilty about it. And that kind of crap goes hand in hand with the guilt and fear of the Abrahamic faiths. Everybody wants sex once you start getting of an age. And if that makes you feel guilty because of what you've been indoctrinated to, then you're likely to do something like that. To just have a purity culture. And I'm going to stay a virgin till whenever, till I'm married or whatever. Like married sex is any less dirty than unmarried sex. Those are all human constructs. And again, they had reasons that they came into play. No one wants cheating, on a rampant scale in their community and in their neighborhood, and adultery, was declared to be wrong because it held society better together if you weren't sleeping with your neighbor's wife. But these are consenting adults, on a rampant scale in their community and in their neighborhood, and adultery, was declared to be wrong because it held society better together if you weren't sleeping with your neighbor's wife. But these are consenting adults. He's crapping out again. Unstable internet connection. Try plugging into your router or moving closer. I can't be much closer to my Wi-Fi, so we apologize for that. I guess we probably could put an Ethernet on it next time and moving it right in here. That might work. But it's kind of tough to believe that I'm actually having connectivity issues because that Wi-Fi is really close. So bear with us while that comes back. You're welcome, Astonishing Toto. You're welcome. Thanks, Molly Millie, for joining. Thanks, Coffee Lover, for joining. Thanks, President U.S. Mike. Atheists do know more about Christianity than most Christians because they don't read, they recite. Yeah, well, that's true. They don't even recite. They just listen to what they're told more and more. Yeah, now it's saying I don't have any internet at all for the StreamYard. That's crazy. So apologize for the people on YouTube. I think TikTok on my phone looks like it's still working, so we're going to hang with it. Okay, Trained Man, what do you tell your closest loved ones? That they are delusional. Again, I had a lucky experience. My mom knows not to argue with me now. She's a born-again believer, and, my dad's pretty much a mellow agnostic type. Yeah, I don't get into it with my mom, but she's not the kind who would ever disown me or, be hateful because I don't believe. So, I have told her that she's delusional, but I don't need to hurt her feelings. It's my mom, and if she's comfortable believing, then she's comfortable believing. But, the other loved ones in my life are not religious enough for me to have that be an issue. So I've been lucky in a lot of ways as an atheist. I don't have, I guess we're back up. We don't have a lot of hardcore bigotry in my life against atheists. I have lost business, I'll tell you that, because I'm an atheist. Looks like you're back, dude.
Yeah, working now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with that. I mean, the Wi-Fi's never.
I think it's partially on my end. I think
okay.
I think
I got kicked.
I think I fixed the bubble.
I don't know. My got said it got kicked right off, but I guess we'll figure it out. Thank you for sticking with us, everybody. Love your content. Thank you. Venus is Musk. I love that. That's an awesome name. I get the whistle out for Venus. Love Venus. What do you think inspired the swallowed by the whale story? Yeah, it was a big fish, first of all, in the Bible, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I have to look at that again, and I haven't thought about that one in a long time. But thanks for bringing it up. We'll look into the. You know much about the Jonah and the swallowed by a fish story? What the teller was trying to get at with that?
Well, I know that it's been a while, but if you listen to Joseph Campbell and The Power of Myth, he talks a little bit about that, about like basically the character going into the abyss and then finding themselves and then coming back out. But I don't know that story well enough, and it's been a long time.
That makes sense, though. I think being swallowed by something like that is a metaphor for entering the darkness and and having enough faith to come through it in the end.
Yeah, and it's a common, I think, as well, like the archetype of like story. One version of that archetype of the hero's journey is like, the person kind of going unwilling into that darkness. Like they don't. It's not like a choice. It's like and so, but like you said, keeping the faith and being able to overcome that.
Right.
That situation.
Yeah, and I mean, death is being swallowed by something like that is a big death metaphor. Poets have used it too. The whistle is my signature. Thank you for mentioning it. Does religion provide guidance to life? Someone asked. I mean, I think it tried to on some level. And it probably works for some people in that way. I mean, that's that the religions really like to rely on that one, and that's in its best form. Religion does. It tries to set a baseline for ethics, and that's how it was presented to me as a youth. This is how you have a moral compass. I'm not sure that that's necessarily necessary, That's a little redundant, but and especially in light of what we know about the mind anymore, need religion to be a good person. You don't need faith in a God or the threat of hell to be a good person. But I do think that, and like we said, the whole Old Testament and all the crazy laws in Leviticus that we make fun of, that was all the best sense that people could make at the time of how to keep their society from falling apart as they wandered together in the wilderness. It's just certain things you didn't do. And a lot of them really don't make sense. So the one about, deformed people not entering the house of God is really kind of ugly, and it mentions all kinds of things, and it's not just diseased people, which kind of makes sense. You don't want, a leper entering the church where other people are, so that everybody didn't get a communicable disease and die. They were trying to avoid that, but people who had their balls injured or cut off. There's all kinds of things. Somebody with one arm. All this stuff that didn't allow people with different disfigurements to enter the temple of the Lord. A lot of that stuff is hard to explain in terms of what we know today. But early on, all those laws were written to keep society together, and it's hard to argue with the fact that it probably worked in a lot of cases. And make people afraid of killing people, so you just didn't get angry and kill somebody. We know that our empathy has evolved over the centuries. We can see that within the last 50 and 100 years, that our empathy is starting to evolve. We can see that in the Chauvin trial. Finally, people are starting to empathize, I think, on a wider scale with the plight of, especially in America. If you're not that, you can't. Especially in America, if you're not that, you can't understand what it is they go through. And little by little, we're starting to see that. And people who rail against BLM and the violence that arose from it aren't seeing the big picture of the disease. They're seeing a symptom, and they're railing against the symptom and blaming the victim really for what has become too much to take for some people. Frankly, if we cure the disease of racism, the symptom of riots and burning and looting will go away. You can't just blame the rioters and the looters, who aren't right. I'm not defending that, but that's a symptom of a larger disease, and we got to get rid of the disease. So to get back to the point, I think we see that society has become more moral as we go along. So those ancient laws that kept people in line when people were much less likely to sympathize and empathize with their fellow man aren't necessarily needed anymore, especially in advanced nations. IMO. What else we got? Are you interested in reading about what existed before the universe? Yeah, that's what scientists are working on now. They've basically got over how life started on Earth. We understand how life started on rocky planets. Now they're trying to work on how the universe came to be, and what existed before the Big Bang, and how to explain quantum theory that flies in the face of Einsteinian physics. Those are the questions that they've moved on to, and to argue about people, who are doing that as experts and who have more school than I could even imagine putting up with, is the height of idiocy in my opinion. So yeah, I can't wait to read. I was looking at they flew. I don't know if anybody saw this. They flew the little helicopter that went with the Mars mission and filmed it. And to keep a little helicopter stable in that thin atmosphere is the real work of art and science that they've achieved. So I love that stuff. And as soon as something comes out that explains what happened before the Big Bang and the actual nature of the beginning of the universe before the Big Bang was, I love that shit. Thanks for any presents that anybody sent. It looks like one popped up there. What do you think about toxic atheists? We filmed a video that'll probably be getting posted pretty soon about how atheists can be obnoxious. They can be over the top. They can be just as preachy as Christians. But again, just like the looting that happens with Black Lives Matters, atheists are tired of being discriminated against in our society and being marginalized and outcast and ridiculed, quite frankly, by people who believe in a myth, people who are superstitious, people who want to run a country as a theocracy. We are sick of it. And so it's hard for me to blame atheists for getting mouthy. We are tired of living in a country that is run by and ruled by panderers to religion or religious people. No one wants to live in a country like Pakistan where a religious minority makes laws for the rest of us. We want our government to work for the people, use human solutions to solve human problems, and not worry about praying to God before Congress, and not worry about making a religious cabinet, a religion cabinet position, and not worrying about putting God on the money and putting God in the pledge, and indoctrinating kids to say a pledge with God in it. It was bad enough that they had to say the pledge at all, which again is an unreasonable expectation of government. Government has no business forcing people to repeat a saying over and over again. That is an infringement upon everybody's freedom, and it is indoctrination of its own. So, toxic atheists, I do worry that you turn people off, and I'm sure I'd turn some people off with my atheist activism, but that doesn't stop the fact that we are fighting the last civil rights movement. Atheist and atheist acceptance and secular people in America are going to be the last civil rights fight, long after everybody else has gotten their rights. Think about it this way. It's more mainstream to be gay and transgender in America than it is to be secular. And I love gay people and transgender people. And it's one able to achieve, but the fact that they are more mainstream than atheists is bizarre to me in the first great secular government.
Here, got another one. MSMC. Why do some Christians think they're oppressed?
Well, because they've gotten away with their privilege for so long. All of a sudden, people are kicking back, and they're like, "Oh!" And I hear it all the time. Suddenly it's bad to be a Christian. No, it's not bad to be a Christian. It's bad to be an oppressive fuck. And when you oppress everybody else in society in the name of your religion, now people are starting to kick back, and so they feel oppressed because they've never felt that before. And it's not oppression. There's still like some ridiculous majority. If you add all the different sects together, this country is still overwhelmingly Christian. And they routinely get rulings in their favor. The giant cross that got to stay because of Scalia, God don't rest his soul, idiot, fool, unbelievable dipshit, who died the other year after a 30-year battle with social progression. Good riddance to him. What an idiot. They allowed that giant cross in Maryland to stay on public land by ruling that it didn't represent a religion anymore and it was just a thing. What? What Jewish person driving down the road sees a 40-foot cross and doesn't think Christianity in my face? What Muslim immigrant, and there's a lot of good ones, Islam sucks too, but there's a lot of decent, peace-loving Muslims in the country and right here in town too, who are just trying to raise their families without being discriminated against. You don't think that person is like, oh, there's Christianity in my fucking face again, and they're lucky they're not getting dragged out in the street and killed for not being a Christian, so they're happy to not make waves. But Christian privilege has been a thing for way too long in America, and we're sick of it. So every time somebody kicks back now, the religious people, the Christians are like, I'm being oppressed, and it's no longer cool to be a Christian. I try to take my prayer in school. No one's trying to stop you from praying in school. Bow your head and pray. You just can't lead prayer in school. The school can't endorse it. That's different than you bowing your head and praying in the cafeteria. If you want to do that and get your ass kicked by the other people, go ahead and do it.
We had a kind of a question related to that. So we have, actually, I'm sure. Am I muted or can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Specifically, they want to know, give some things that are oppression by Christians on you.
Things
you kind of hit a bunch, but.
Oh yeah, well, first of all, atheists can't run for office in 7 Bible Belt states, which is a violation of the Constitution, which says there shall be no religious test for running for political office. And Congress, people are like, well, you should fight those states then. No, if it's a violation of the Constitution, it's up to the U.S. government to tell those states that they're wrong. But they get a pass on that because of religious exceptionalism. Religious exceptionalism happens all the time, not just to Christians. Jewish ceremony gets exempted from from a punishment, a lot of times too. But I had a run-in with the public school district here when the teacher tried to litter her classroom with the Bible. Well, that's interfering with my right to raise my kid the way that I want to in the religious tradition that I want, which is no religious tradition. So when the public school teacher puts Christianity on the wall and my kid looks up to that and looks up to the teacher as an authority figure and a representative of the government, that is wrong. And if I was a Muslim teacher and I did the same thing, there'd be hell to pay. If I was an atheist teacher and your Christian kid came home and said, you know what, my teacher told me there was no God, I'd be fired. It wouldn't even fucking be a minute before they blew you out the door. And that's happened in parts of the country. Try doing that shit in Texas. And see if they don't fire you from the school district. And they're bold about it. The rulings all the time. The Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A and people who are allowed to discriminate against LGBT people and transgender people based on their faith. It goes on and on. There's millions of examples of how atheists are oppressed by Christians. You can go to your job and they will do. You can apply for a job and have people do things surreptitiously. I've seen it happen. They'll ask you leading questions to find out if you're a liberal or a gay person or an atheist. It happens. And then where they don't really come right out and ask it on the application, suddenly you don't get the job. And it's because someone was scanning your clothes for a cross or scanning, talking to you about things that are going to give them an idea whether you're down with Jesus or not. And it's wrong. It's unconstitutional, and it's wrong. There's tons of more.
What's I want to know what's a realistic way that churches could be required to pay some kind of tax?
Well, the IRS needs to come down on them when they endorse a political candidate. Boom, that should be it. They should just start taxing them. You have violated your 501c3 status by endorsing a political candidate. Period. And we know that preachers across the country endorse political candidates from their pulpit. And as soon as you do that, you violated the rules of a nonprofit, and you need to be taxed for it. As soon as you can be shown to be keeping shitty books and making money and making a profit and banking it like the Mormons did, then you need to be taxed on it. There's plenty of, in most churches, I would even go so far as to say most churches are still community poor churches who rely on the donations in the plate from a community of very poor people who don't have much to give, and so they don't make a profit. And as long as they don't endorse a political candidate, I'm okay with that church not being taxed. But the IRS just needs to do its job. And again, this is Christian exceptionalism. They don't get looked at by the way that the rest of us do by the IRS.
Do you believe there's life in other planets? Any kind of life?
Yeah, absolutely. The universe is too big. They've already discovered planets similar in size and similar in distance from a similar sun. We know that there's countless planets like that. So the idea that nowhere else has life is silly. The odds are there's just too many opportunities. It might not be evolved to the point that we are, and it might be a little bit more evolved than we are. But it's likely that in the best case, they're only about as evolved as we are, since we have the Earth as a model for how long it took intelligent life to form or to evolve. 4.8 billion years or whatever it is how long it took. So it's unlikely that any other planet in the universe had enough of a head start to get that done. Just saw your video about Muhammad, and my question is, what made you think that he wrote the book? Because he did write the book. We know he wrote the book. Nobody else wrote the book. I don't get that. And because he said God dictated it to him, why did it take him 20 years then? Come on. What percentage of the U.S. population do you think will be atheist in 20 years? It's a lot more now than it shows, and again, it's a complicated question because people that identify as atheists, like me, are only maybe 3 to 7%. It's a very low percentage, because a lot of people will say that they're agnostic, or that they're not sure, they're non-believers, or they're non-religious, or they don't really belong to a religion. They obfuscate, they don't tell the truth because they're scared to come out. In 20 years, it's liable to be a lot higher. The 20-year curve in church, downward curve in church attendance and church membership is encouraging beyond words. So I think it's going to take a while, but there's no way for me to guess what percentage. If it's 7 now, in 20 years, I say it's 15.
Here's another one.
Thoughts on the
forced recital?
Yeah, we talked about that. The recital. We shouldn't be forced to recite anything with or without one nation under God. And you can not recite it. They can't force you to recite it. But the tradition of reciting it in any kind of way is wrong. You're using the government to force on people. You're taking away people's individual right to think for themselves by making them perform any ritual at the government's behest, which the public school is. So I'm against the pledge altogether. One Nation Under God, added to it in the 50s, was just propaganda to fight the godless communists. We as America is a country that believes in God, and that makes us better than the shitty godless communists. And so the 50s and that's when the money got changed too. That's easy history to look up. But yeah, the forced recital of the pledge is bullshit. I'm a libertarian in that way. They're infringing upon your rights to form your own opinions and be an individual when they're trying to get you to conform by reciting a pledge, no matter what the pledge says. It's not the government's business.
Here's another one for you. I just posted it.
You think we should respect all religions equally? No, religions. If they earn some respect, respect them. But just because a religion is a religion doesn't mean it needs to be respected. It needs to be acknowledged as existing and as having a right to exist. But to respect religions just out of hand because it's a religion, that's just ignorant. The religions don't earn much respect, in my opinion. And if they do, they do. Yeah. A guy brought up the fact that the church down the road from him fed the poor during COVID. Yeah, there's a church down the road here that has a food bank and they're giving COVID shots away. Yes, churches do some good for the community. Religion in general, I have identified as a net negative on society, and especially evangelical Christianity in America has identified itself as a net negative on the world. So yeah, to just think that you should respect all religions just because it's someone's religion, that's absurd to me. Religion demands ridicule. It's absurd. Churches that do good, that's awesome. People that do good, that's awesome. That's to be respected. But just because it's your religion, I can't make fun of it or I have to respect it? No.
Do you think that the LGBTQ community would be more respected without religions?
Is the Bible anti-gay? Yes, of course. And a lot of religions are cool, and a lot of people try to spin their Christian church as being LGBT friendly. But in my mind, that's just denying Scripture. The Bible is anti-gay, and it's even if it's only in a couple of places, there's no way to get around the fact that the Bible is anti-gay. So if you want so bad to be a Christian and you're gay, then you've been indoctrinated, and you need to let it go, in my opinion. But the adults can choose to form a church that's LGBT friendly if they want. But yeah, I think the LGBT community would be much more respected without Christian Puritan influence in America.
What do you think of the Sikhs?
I love Sikhs, and they got shot up again the other day, man, and it's heartbreaking. We have a great Sikh community here where we are, and they have a temple up the road. They got shot up. You remember that, Jay? It's up in Oak Creek, maybe.
Oh yeah,
7-8 years ago. Yeah, it was a while ago now. But I went. Yeah. I felt so bad. I went and apologized to my Sikh buddy down at the gas station, and said, "Is everybody all right?" The Sikhism is a decent religion, man. It's just about bettering your mind and searching. They're seekers. They're looking for the truth of the universe, and from what I can see, they don't. They're one of the better ones, man. I gotta tell you.
And the guy who shot him up was just super ignorant. Was my
people think they're Islam. Really people think they're Muslims, because they have turbans, and people don't understand.
Right.
And that's that's American ignorance. People have not been taught properly in their. My church taught me about world religion, and not in a overly colonialistic way. It was kind of fair. We learned what other people believed, and that those beliefs were just as valid as ours. It amazes me that modern evangelical Christianity is so hell bent on pretending that they're the right one and they know it's the truth, and when they don't even educate the congregation about other religions here, so they get shot up because people think that they're Muslims because they're brown and they have turbans. It's just ridiculous. People need to educate. It's all about education in America. The education system here is eroded to the point where we have generations of idiots, flat idiots in America. I don't know what they learn in school anymore.
Cowboy Wayne asked, "Why do humans feel entitled to an afterlife?"
But our psychology has evolved to the point where we think that there's something more there. Our brains are so amazing and so powerful and fills us each with such character. The biggest mope in the world has more character than most animals. I won't say all animals. I've known some dolphins that have more personality than some of the idiots I've met in my life. But it's just a function of our highly evolved brains, and the fact that we don't want it to end. We want to keep going, and we want it to be better, and we want to live forever in a beautiful place. That's a normal thing to me. I get it. I wish there was an afterlife. That would be great. But sadly, there's no evidence for it. There is evidence that we have one life here on a beautiful blue planet that we're doing our best to fuck up. And most of the fucking up is getting done by people who think that we don't need to take care of it because it's all just a temporary, I don't know what, holding pen, for people, testing grounds for who's going to believe in the right religion and get sucked up into space and go to heaven afterwards. Take care of the world and enjoy it while you're here and try to make it better,
Got a question. Do you think that psychology centers could help fill the
void? What void? Of religion? If religion goes away? Maybe.
Yeah, I assume that.
Yeah, maybe. Psychology is one of those things. It's such an undefinable science, and that keeps evolving and learning about itself. The brain's never going to fully understand itself. I think that's one of the great paradoxes about being so intelligent. We keep chasing that. I really understand how our brain works, and they're learning a lot. We know a lot about mental disorders and mental disease and mental illness than we used to. But I think psychology and philosophy centers, maybe could even help, and just like talk to people about the nature of existence in a way that replaces the community and the so-called answers. Psychology and philosophy centers, maybe could even help, and just like talk to people about the nature of existence in a way that replaces the community and the so-called answers. StreamYard, I don't know if anybody knows anything about that, but I'm going to lean in and read some questions here on the TikTok. I am sorry you believe that. Believe what? Oh, use that. Yeah. Kevin Rubix, what's up, dude? Thanks, man. A Course in Miracles is psychological spirituality. What does that mean? There are no miracles. I don't know what that is, man. Miracles don't happen because once something happens, it happens for a reason. Causality, and miracles are something which can't happen. So once it happens, it can happen, and it can't be a miracle. Favorite Star Wars movie? Empire Strikes Back's probably still my favorite. I really liked, and I'm old, so I'm having trouble, the second to last one. I like that one a lot. Would be number 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. Number 8. I can't remember the names of them now. I thought that was good, man, and I was kind of disappointed that they had to take back kind of what they did with it in order to make the last one just kind of a fan favorite farewell movie. But Empire Strikes Back and number 8, those are the two best Star Wars. No, DMT, I probably would. I'm a fan of psychedelics. My favorite show, currently, right now, my favorite show, boy, that's tough. My favorite show ever is probably The Wire. I think it's probably the best show that was ever on TV. Breaking Bad's right up there. Game of Thrones, how do you argue? And Mad Men, those are probably my top 4. Right now, I love Ozark. I love what's the train one that we talked about, Jay?
Cyber, or no, not cyber.
Why am I
Polar,
drawing?
no,
Yeah, Polar Express.
Polar Express.
Yeah, yeah. You know the one.
I haven't seen it.
It's really good. Snowpiercer. Snowpiercer. That's a good show. There's a lot of cool shows. I just started watching the new HBO one, The Nevers. That's cool. It's a steampunk mutant show from Joss Whedon, and I thought it was cool as hell. Have you seen the 100? You know, I haven't seen the 100. I might get into that one. Is it good? Favorite atheist, non-religion type books. I don't read a ton of books. I read Hitchens' God Is Not Great. I like to recommend that one. I'm reading the Quran right now. That's what I'm trying to get through right now, so I can be an educated critic.
So I have to jump off at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock.
At 9 o'clock
Central Time. Do you? Yeah. Do you want to do a lightning round, or did you want to?
Yeah, let's do. If you can, let's do a lightning round.
Okay.
I shouldn't stay too much longer either.
So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the comment section. Normally we ask for you to put it in the question box, but I can't access that, so you have to put it in the comments.
As an astrophysicist, I am aligned with your perspective on God. Thanks, buddy. I like getting validation from experts, because I don't know. I wish I knew more. I really admire astrophysicists and quantum theorists and people whose brains are big enough to get their head around that kind of stuff. So thank you for chiming in, buddy, whoever you are.
Here's one from I'm Too Funky. They said first time live with you, so I think they're excited they made it. I don't know if you can see that. Here's a question though. So from Pennsylvania Senior, were you surprised by the number of pedophile priests here in Pennsylvania? Something about the grand jury.
Is that what that was about? The 40? Yeah, no, I'm not surprised by that. I'm not surprised by anything that comes out about the pedophile priest scandal. The Catholic Church has been exposed as having and continuing to run the biggest pedophilia ring that the world has ever seen, and so I'm not surprised at all anymore. And every time one of these things comes out, I'm like, yep, that's easy to believe. They molested 100 deaf children at a school for the deaf in Milwaukee. How despicable can you get? As if victims were voiceless enough, but deaf kids. And then they hide money through bankruptcy so that they don't have to pay back the victims. It's disgusting. The government needs to step in and shut the doors on the Catholic Church until they get their shit together, finally. They've done it before, right? They blew up Waco and David Koresh's compound when his religion didn't align with government's interest. So they're not against doing it when they have to do it. And if there's ever been a case for doing it, this is one of them. And everybody who still goes to Catholic Church and puts money in the coffers, you're supporting the world's biggest pedophilia ring.
And I think with that too, I think in Milwaukee they got in trouble too because they had a bunch of money for some type of building updates. So they didn't have money to pay off pay their bills for those lawsuits, but they had enough money to upgrade all their
of course
all their stuff.
Yeah, of course. They got money for what they need, but not money to help people that they hurt.
Okay, so I'm going to put these. I got a few more in here. I'm going to add to the list. So if you have a question, you should do it now because once we get going, I don't think I can see them.
Okay.
So give me. Let's see. I think we got 1, 2, 3. All right, here we'll get started with this list and then we'll see where we go. So first question is. You might have. Oh no, here we go. Who decides who edits the Bible? Who edits the Bible?
Who decide who edits the Bible? I don't know who edits anymore, but the people in charge of the early church decided. The white Europeans, starting with people who spoke Greek, which I doubt that was the people who wrote it. Those people decided on how to put together the Septuagint, the first version of the Bible, and if a book didn't agree with their idea of what the church should be, they left it out. There's a reason there's no Gospel of Mary. It exists, but women were they didn't want to empower women in any way, so her gospel got left out. There's a Gospel of Daniel. Richard Carrier goes on about how cool the Gospel of Daniel is in terms of some of the stories that are in it. But white Western Europeans wrote and retranslated the Bible, and starting with the King James version and all these versions that we see, that get dumber and dumber and dumber for the people who do read a little bit of it to be able to understand the language. All of those people are just people with their own idea of how it should be. That's always been that way. People weren't even allowed to read. Go ahead.
Lightning round.
Yep.
I have a question. On what basis do you attack the Prophet Muhammad?
The fact that he converted the Arabian Peninsula through war. I would start right there. How does the religion of peace need to be forced on people through war? He took over Mecca by winning a war and made them convert to his religion as the only concession after the war. So that's a place to start. Go ahead.
Least favorite president?
Trump, and not because of his policies. I think history will show that some of his policies were decent, and conservatives had a right to think that they were pretty good. But he was the most unstatesmanlike, liar, ignorant, filthy, just embarrassment, worldwide embarrassment. There's no one's ever been a worse showcase for America than that turd. But again, not because he was a Republican necessarily, and because he used the Christian right against the rest of us like a cudgel in an embarrassingly obvious way.
Okay, I think this is more of a comment that I thought was a question because it's from Atheist Hub, basically saying religion. Do you need religion for morality? That wasn't. They comment that you don't, but I guess you could just talk about that. Do you need religion for? Do you need religion for morality?
No, of course not.
Okay, cyberpunk or steampunk?
I like steampunk. I got to say.
Mother Teresa as bad as Hitchens laid out?
What's that?
Was Mother Teresa as bad as Hitchens laid out?
Apparently, yeah. Apparently so. I haven't really looked into it, but he's not the only one who thinks that. But again, Catholic indoctrinating poor people. Here, we'll help you out at the expense of your eternal soul.
Why do Christians hate abortions but support their God-killing babies?
Because they're all hypocrites who have no sense at all.
Who would win in a fight, Christopher Hitchens or Mother Teresa?
I got to give it to Hitchens because Mother Teresa was tiny.
Zeus versus Thor, cage match, who wins?
Zeus versus Thor. Whew. That's a lot of lightning, bro. I don't know. I think Zeus because he was at least the king of his gods, right? Thor was just second or third, behind Odin. I give it to Zeus.
Here's one related to the Muhammad question. Okay, if they turned them to war, then should they have lead Islam after his death?
Yeah, they should have, but they didn't. People are dumb. People are followers. They're sheep. And so he wrote a compelling book. I'm not saying he wasn't a smart guy. He was a fucking genius, obviously, in a lot of ways.
Do you think religion should be taught from birth?
I think all religions should be taught from birth. Yes, I think children, young as you can get them, you should teach children about all world philosophy and religion, so that they know that one religion isn't necessarily the only way that people think, and then they can choose on their own. And kids get it. Believe me, they've tried it in places.
The last two, thoughts on George Carlin?
I love George Carlin. I had the pleasure of working with his daughter, and I got to talk to her about him. Genius, and one of my favorite comedians of all time.
I said I wouldn't do this. Asked, how many times a week do you get the question on religion and morality?
Oh my God, so many times, and it's one of my big triggers. Honestly, it's just so dumb.
Okay, and that's it. We'll call it a night. If you want to,
all right.
I would say take a couple minutes to promote the podcast and where people can.
Yeah, for sure.
Buy a shirt, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I stole my my internet from my home next door to bring into here, so I got to go bring it back so my people come watch TV again. So I'll be quitting too soon. Thanks, dude. Producer Jay. We'll see you on Sunday, if not before.
I won't make it Sunday because I got.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're not making it. I'm gonna fly solo Sunday for a little while. We'll see how that goes. Probably slower. It's nice to have a team and have somebody reading the questions. I find that it's different. The podcast is on Spotify, Atheist Underground. You can find it. Christians were deviated. Oh, she's talking to somebody else. I'm kind of bad at this. I wish you nothing but health, happiness, and hope. Thanks, you too, Ben. Astonishing Toto. I'm gonna give one to Toto. Cool name. Yeah, sorry if you're just joining. We are going to wrap it up. I want everybody to know that you can find the podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or just at atheistunderground.com. You can get all the old episodes. They only come out once every couple of months. It's slow for me to produce because I don't just talk and put them out there like a lot of these guys do. I try to kick it up with a little bit of interviews and humor, and I edit it so that it's not all the time. So and I got a busy job right now. I'm a landscaper, and it's spring, so it might be a while for the next one, but the old episodes are cool as hell, and you can see them. See you next week. Thanks for stopping, Pierre. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. Please follow. They're not terribly busy because this TikTok honestly exploded. And again, I want to thank everybody so much for joining and following on TikTok. We had no idea that it was going to be so big, and now it takes up a lot of time because I do like to answer all the comments that I can. I try not to engage the trolls, and I really appreciate everybody who argues with the trolls and their terrible, terrible arguments that they make. I'm trying not to empower them, so I try not to answer those, but I do like to at least like all the comments that are positive and encourage our fans to keep on writing. So it takes a lot of time, so maybe I can ramp up my efforts on the other social media that we have, but we do have them. And please join on YouTube so we get to 1,000. We can go live from our phone, which will make a big difference, and we can do some cool stuff out there on the street too. But it takes 1,000 followers on YouTube, and we've only got maybe 500-600 right now. And there's cool shit if you go back through the YouTube. The 12 Days of Christmas parody. I like to write parody songs. That was a fun one. We recorded it too. It's on there that you can find. Soon enough, we'll have the circumcision documentary out on that, and you can find it. Thank you. Another great session. Canadian chick. Nothing I love more than Canadian chicks, man. They're awesome. Yeah, so I think that's it. I'm going to blast off here in a second. I don't see a whole lot of other questions. Thank you again for joining us. We'll do this every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. And go to Cafe Press and buy the T-shirts, the What's Missing T-shirt. We have a Cafe Press Atheist Underground gear. And I think that's all I got to promote. Thanks again, everybody, for joining. And I am going to see you later. Love you all. Love you big time. I would climb through the screen and make a love to all of you if I could. Bye-bye.